Welcome back to the GlobalHeadwinds.com. Can we put our fingers on a statesman in today's fractured world who rises to the occasion, takes decisions which may not be popular but yet salvage his nation from deep crisis? And almost inevitably one name comes up, Volodymyr Zelenskyy of Ukraine. When Zelenskyy first stepped onto the world stage in 2019, many dismissed him as a comedian and thrust into politics. But yet Zelenskyy rose magnificently to the occasion. He galvanized his people, ignited a sense of defiance, and stood as a face of resistance against the formidable Russian war machine. His speeches shook parliaments. His presence inspired nations. His persuasion unblocked billions from the US and Europe in weapons and aid. Under his leadership, Europe, despite its crippling dependence on Russian oil, rallied behind Ukraine. Washington opened its coffers and imposed severe sanctions on Moscow. For a while, Zelenskyy wasn't just Ukraine's president, he was the symbol of democratic resilience. But this episode isn't about the leader we already know. Can history qualify him as a statesman? Let's pause for a moment and step back from the global adulation and examine the quieter, darker corners of this story. Was this war inevitable? Did Zelenskyy, in his passion and conviction, underestimate Putin's resolve and overestimate American loyalty? Did he ignore the fact that the United States and Russia, despite public posturing, have always avoided direct conflict? Did he misread the geopolitical chessboard that NATO leaders were setting up in Ukraine? And did he not understand that NATO was deliberately trying to intervene into Russia's historical sphere of influence? A sphere carved over 1,000 years since the Great Schism that ultimately separated Roman Catholic Church from Constantinople's Orthodox Christian world? These are not accusations, they are questions. Questions that will echo through the pages of history. What is clear is that Zelenskyy's decisions were not entirely guided by strategy, but by domestic politics, by Western cheerleaders, and by the belief that the West would stand by him no matter what. From the beginning, West's policy was to use Ukraine as a handle to whip the Russians and not to protect Ukrainians against the Russian onslaught. Zelenskyy was intelligent enough to see through this, but he chose to ignore it. And today he and his countrymen are paying a heavy price for this. Consider this. Had Zelenskyy sat across the table with Putin early on, could the story of Ukraine have unfolded differently? Could thousands of lives have been saved and the nation's shattered cities will be standing? If Zelenskyy advocated a middle path with no aspirations of joining NATO and trying to maintain cordial relations with Putin? We cannot know for certain. What we know for certain is that the leaders are judged not only by the wars they fight, but also the conflicts they avoid. And today the reality confronting Ukraine is harsher than ever. The very nation Zelenskyy trusted the most, the United States, seems to be withdrawing. Behind the closed doors, away from cameras, a stunning development has emerged. A peace plan discussed not by diplomats, but by Steve Witkoff, a close business associate of President Trump and also a real estate baron, and Kirill Dmitriev, head of the Russia's Sovereign Fund. Two businessmen, one interested in rebuilding Ukraine's shattered infrastructure, and another eager to start the export of Russian oil. Their proposal, a peace that demands from Ukraine what its soldiers and people are still dying to avoid: surrender of 20% of its territory, no NATO membership, no European Union pathway. The blueprint is not for victory, but for capitulation. And with this, Zelensky's and the Ukrainians' day of reckoning has come. Either Ukraine risks losing its greatest benefactor, the United States of America, or end up totally surrendering to the Russians. So who is responsible for this devastating turn of events? Not Trump, not Europeans, not even Putin, and certainly not the brave, suffering people of Ukraine. History's finger will point towards one man, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, a leader who won power in 2019, raising up an absurd demand, devoid of ground realities, that no peace could be made with Russia without return of Crimea, captured by Russians 5 years ago. This clarion call stroked national passions and may have won him his election, but ultimately devastated his country and his people. So we again ask, was Zelenskyy a statesman? The answer is simply no, because he chose war over peace. Because of his absurd decisions, he is standing over the ruins of his country and the dead bodies of his countrymen. And forget getting back Crimea, he watches helplessly as another 1/5 of his country is being hived off to Russia by power brokers sitting in Washington and Moscow. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the most consequential leadership stories of our time. This has been GlobalHeadwinds.com, decoding decisions, ambitions, and miscalculations that shape our world and sometimes shatter it. Stay tuned, stay curious, and as always, thank you for your unwavering support.